Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. And a quick extra video, because if you have looked in the past few days, you probably realized that update 3.1 came out. And oh boy, have we changed things around. There's a new mode, Blitz Royale, because everybody does love themselves some Fortnite. I'm not going to go into that at all at this point. This is much more interesting. Battle time adjustment. We are starting in tier 6, now playing for 7 minutes. So you might say, well, minute longer, what's the difference? It's a huge difference. So in a normal battle, you'd usually spend probably the first minute until you actually get into the action, because it's positioning, it's spotting, and these sort of things. An extra minute means that a lot of things now work differently. You have to be more economic with your damage controls. You have to be more economic with your consumables. A lot of consumables that you could bump up to a particular amount, but couldn't realistically actually use in most situations, suddenly start making sense. For example, I have on my Des Moines a 4 rapid reloads, which I would say probably in most cases I wouldn't use it. There are some situations when I really can use it, but with an extra minute to play, I definitely can use that. You've got to watch out for your health pool a lot more now, because while you might have been getting away with it before, now you have an extra minute to actually survive, because if you die, you cost your team points. A lot of battles I have played where I'd say if I had another minute or just another 30 seconds, we would have won this. Because I had an enemy ship that was on relatively low health, I could have sunk easily, but they managed to scrape by, let the timer run down, and won on points. So this is changing, and I think this is a good change. It still means that you have to kind of watch what you're doing, but it does mix up the meta quite a bit, in my opinion. So we'll see how this plays out. Anyway, you get that from starting from tier 6, so everybody else gets to 6 minutes underneath. And starting on tier 6 games, we get 7 minutes, which I think is great. Balancing overhaul. German battleships get their secondaries buffed. And again, I think this is a good change, because this actually affects the tier 9 and 10 German battleships. And I have been complaining in my previous reviews of these two ships that the secondaries aren't quite as vicious as I thought they would be. And this is a very welcome change. So this does affect the auto secondary batteries, and especially on the Großer Kurfürst, the auto secondaries are vicious. My problem was that in the current meta, or in the old meta rather, you would have relatively few times where you could actually make use of these things, because the battles were so static. And both the timing and this buff here, I think, make this a whole lot more viable. So I'm definitely going to be switching over to a secondary build on my Kurfürst. There's another interesting thing here, which says that new protection mechanics have been applied to German battleships. This is all we get in terms of information. New protection mechanics. Turtleback armor? Maybe? I don't know. Because it appears to be a hidden statistic. I would think that it's probably, given that it falls into the whole brawly kind of theme sort of thing, I would expect that they have put an additional factor in there, a hidden factor that prevents German battleships to be citadel at close range. But we'll have to see what time will tell, what kind of experience we get with these things. But definitely keen to try this out on my Kurfürst. The second big change that has been made is on the Japanese destroyer mainline, so the stealth torpedo boats, and they have received smoke screens, which I'm okay with. I think they were rather powerful already, so I'm not super excited about it, because I think you can, you wouldn't use it to stay in stealth. You would use it on an aggressive run. So you would, let's say you're rushing a battleship, but your torpedoes aren't sufficient to sink it. So you then have to disengage, which is usually a death sentence in a Japanese destroyer because you don't have the speed to get out of there or the endurance to take on the fire, especially with things like the improved auto secondaries. So getting a smoke allows you just kind of to more safely disengage, unless of course there are sonars and radars around. Now they have paid for that smoke, and that's why I'm not super excited about it, because they actually have paid for it with a slower torpedo reload. In return, they also get an increased flooding chance. So this gives us a bit more of a capability of more of like a double tap sort of scenarios where you try to torpedo ships and get permafloods. The Royal Naval battleships are coming in, and we knew that already. So if you're surprised that they're not there yet, it's usually not happening like this. It's usually not immediately upon the update, but it's usually happening at some point during the month. I would expect it to happen in April because the Blitz Pass is still going. So while the Blitz Pass is still going, they're not going to be opening up the tech tree. Is it still going? I think it is. We get a lot more battle honors, which is always good to have. The camos are now in a little bit different place. That's not all. You can figure that out in the game. It's not all that interesting. Cage now has a base capture mode, which is great. I think Cage is a good map. It's definitely an interesting map, and I personally prefer it over Encounter for sure. Other improvements, just smaller things. And now we get to the ship balancing. So if you thought, okay, Japanese mainline DDs get smokes and German top tier battleships get improved auto secondaries, that's not all. The Des Moines gets a radar. Which, given what I just uploaded, I found rather fitting. Sure. I mean, it's not that I'm not in one of the most powerful cruisers to begin with, but yeah, sure, we'll take it. So that's a hard counter. Now, jokes aside, that is a hard counter against the Japanese mainline destroyer smokes, obviously. So hopefully this animates more people to play cruiser in top tier game meta, which again has been really, really mixed up, I think. The Mino gets a sonar. Okay, sure. So when you're in a smoke or in any other situation, you can use that to spot enemy torpedoes coming in. And well, given that the Mino is already an extremely dangerous destroyer hunter, having a sonar certainly doesn't hurt. The Tier 7 premium German destroyer has lost the sonar, but I think has gained rapid reload. The French premium destroyer gets a bit faster reload, and so does the Azuma. I haven't gotten any experience with those things. The Yama and the Musashi get 300% citadel damage modifier instead of 250% for everybody else. So they're big ass guns, really. excuse my language. Make hit harder when they do penetrate. And the Japanese gunboat destroyers have gotten a better dispersion. They've gotten a torpedo flooding buff, and they've gotten a shell flight time buff. So they get you get shells on target better. Now this is interesting for a couple of reasons. For once, this actually confirms one of the my long-standing theories that air resistance and is an actual factor in the game. So it is, because it says right here we have an air resistance factor, which is the thing that makes that reduces your shell penetration for armor piercing, but is also the thing that, well, literally determines how long it takes one of the things that determines for how long it takes your shells to get on target. The other one probably being shell arc and muzzle velocity, which we haven't seen anything about yet. But anyway, it's always good to hear these things. So, what does that mean for you? Probably the biggest change for everyone is going to be the 7-minute one, and I'm super excited about this one. I really got to tell you that. I am going to play around with my Kurfürst quite a bit more, and I'm going to be playing Kagero to see how that works with the smoke. I've played Kagero quite aggressively already, so probably not such a huge change, but definitely be having some fun with these changes. Anyway, that's it. again, just a short bonus video to go through the patch notes with you. Thanks everybody and have a good weekend. Bye.